gaining confidence in open intelligence, then we want to also know how does that look practically, and how does it appear in life to actually recognize something about us that is stable, easy, easeful, and open. And so how the effects on relationships is always a good, any kind of relationship. So we will, maybe we will share the text here.
Button pushers, unflinching love and wisdom. Life gets really interesting when all our buttons get pushed. Let's say we are with a friend, our partner, a family member, or a work colleague, and they start doing things that annoy us. If we rely on open intelligence instead of going into one of our stories about what they are doing, more and more we will see clearly how to deal with a situation that may have caused us a lot of pain in the past.
Because we are so accustomed to reacting in some way when we get annoyed, at first it may be difficult to not react in this usual way. Through short moments many times, we come to recognize that there is a much more natural way to be. Rather than reacting based on habitual patterns of wanting to change, avoid, replace, or micromanage the data, we rely on naturally responsive open intelligence, which is imbued with mental and emotional stability, keen insight, and skillful knowingness of exactly what is needed. The more we do so, the more we realize that we do not want to go to that usual place of reactivity. We keep relying on open intelligence, and if action needs to be taken, we not only know what the action should be, that action will also be compassionate and beneficial by nature. This is very important, and who knows where it will lead.
Sometimes people are a bit afraid when they hear something like this, and they think, if I rely on open intelligence instead of reacting, maybe people will walk all over me. Well, anything could happen, but open intelligence has a natural discernment and stability. So whatever does happen, we are relying on the clarity of open intelligence and indwelling certainty in its powers of benefit, compassion, wisdom, and skillfulness. We realize that we no longer need to react. We are unflinching in our love and wisdom without needing other people to be any other particular way.
Disturbances are not disturbing. When people hear about gaining confidence in open intelligence, they sometimes think that it means that disturbing data will disappear completely and will never occur again, and they'll live in a wonderful fairyland where there are only pretty pictures because open intelligence has overcome all the disturbing states.
A short moment of the instinctive recognition of open intelligence reveals that disturbing experiences will continue to arise, but that we do not have to be at the whim of them. When we see that clearly, then we can recognize self-arising wisdom as the disturbance appears. Gradually, we come to see that all these disturbances are not disturbing unless we allow them to be. By the power of certain... Okay, carry on.
You can read.
By the power of certainty in open intelligence, it becomes clear that these data are self-releasing and are free in their own place. As there is no real disturbance in them anyway, there is nothing that needs to be done about them. As even greater certainty in open intelligence comes about, the data are seen to be completely empty of an independent nature. It's like going into a house that had seemed frightening and finding it to be completely non-threatening. There is nothing there that can be found to be disturbing in any way.
Sorry, I'm just to clarify, is it not one paragraph? Am I right?
Perfect. Yes, one paragraph is perfectly answered.
Okay, no problem. 4 key points. There are 4 crucial points to remember when emotionally heated stations get all stirred up. First, recognize that the datum is appearing and rely on open intelligence. So there's recognition of acknowledgement that data are appearing. Second, allow open intelligence to remain as it is. open, open and spacious in the appearance of its own dynamic energy. Allow the datum, whatever it is, to come to its full potential. You don't try to suppress it or change it in any way. Let's say that you feel afraid. Relying on open intelligence is not an antidote to the fear. It is the medium for allowing the fear to come to its full potential. Hideouts, glorious, or whatever it is.
Third, see how the datum of fear vanishes naturally without a trace. This is how you come to see that there is nothing to be afraid of and nothing to hold on to either. The fourth key point is the stunning insight into this process of the simultaneous inception, full potentiation, and spontaneous release of the here and now. This most profound insight into this process of the resolution of data is the most profound insight any human being will ever have.
Afflictive states are our greatest allies. When afflictive states come up, it can be very difficult to recognize the natural ease of our own being, because everything in us is screaming, no, no, this feels too awful. It can't possibly be part of open intelligence. That's the most important time of all, just relax.
When we relax more and more, we begin to see that all the data that appear within open intelligence are our allies instead of our foes. When these appearances appear, we recognize inherent open intelligence. It could be that all our lives we have been afraid of the afflictive states, but through open intelligence, we are now able to see them as old friends. Afflictive states are a great support for relying on open intelligence. However, if we continue to exclude them as if they didn't belong in open intelligence, then we will be returning to them again and again.
When we get familiar with our ultimate nature, we just feel better all the time. There is no other way to say it. It's not a mysterious or esoteric matter. Our true nature doesn't belong to any kind of category, institution, philosophy, or religion. It has never been owned by any country or by any person. We can either get familiar with it or not. When we do not get familiar with it, then we pass completely beyond cause and effect.
Namita, you can read here this paragraph if you like.
All right. We see that all these appearances really are allies, and we have never been at their whim. It's all in what we take them to be. If we take them to be a monster, they will be. If we think we are ruled by them, then we will be. The more we know ourselves as we truly are, the more we see that we really are not affected by the labels we have used to describe everything.
Clarifying anger. Maybe in the past you have had situations where you got angry at someone and exposed at them, but afterwards you thought, maybe that's what wasn't a good choice, and you felt really remorseful. Or rather than feeling remorseful, maybe you felt righteous in the indignation. What do they know? What they deserve it. I'm right. Whichever it might have been, it is clear that getting uncontrollably angry with someone is not a friendly, cooperative response to the situation.
We begin to see how these reactions have harmed us and harmed others. We see that recognizing open intelligence in the face of extremely negative data is a better alternative than acting them out. Even though we may not be able to stop these data from appearing, when they do appear, we can at least see that recognizing open intelligence is a better alternative than exploding in anger.
Let's say that something happens that has caused us to get very angry in the past. The real breakthrough of true open intelligence comes when we're right in the middle of the anger, and we really get it firsthand and right away that everything is included in open intelligence. When we can face anger or any other afflictive emotion squarely, exactly as it is, allowing naked seeing from within, That releases tremendous energy to be able to really see things for what they are.
Very strong data, like anger, are based on trying to defend and protect ourselves. What are we trying to protect and defend? Our self-styled individuality, which is what we take ourselves to be. When we start to directly experience open intelligence and gain certainty in it, we don't have to figure everything out about why we do what we do. Do I have a right to be angry? Can I be calmer so I don't get angry even when I have a right to be? Why can't I control my anger? We give up reliance on intellectual speculation and we rely on open intelligence alone. In our own experience, we come to see that open intelligence is a better value proposition than any of our data.
Totally free. There are many examples of people who have gained certainty in open intelligence, and so many of them report the same thing. It was their times of greatest adversity, whether it was war, famine, illness, financial disaster, loss of family or friends, terribly afflictive states, that increased their certainty in open intelligence the most. There could be a lot of detours one could take. However, if the commitment is to open intelligence, then there aren't really any detours. Open intelligence is greatly comforting and provides a relief that is like nothing else. To rely on open intelligence is very self-reinforcing because it's clear that to do so is much better than relying on data.
I'll take that. It's a lot easier to rely on open intelligence with the support of a trainer, a training, and a community. Not only is it easier, it's also a lot more fun. If you really commit in this way, then very quickly you will recognize that open intelligence has been present all along, but that you have just hadn't noticed it. Initially, it's important to not be distracted by the negative states or perpetuate them by getting all wrapped up in your descriptions of them. As you gain more certainty in open intelligence, you could have the same negative state appear in full force, but you did nevertheless be totally free. You enjoy everything a lot more by not needing it to be any certain way. The ultimate freedom is in open intelligence because from there, you're totally free to be anywhere, in any situation, and with anyone. You know what to do and how to act at all times.
Great. So, thank you for reading.
Thank you.
And great. And yes, so I just wanted to maybe clarify some of the terms there. Like they say open intelligence as the nature of mind, and data meaning all the thoughts, emotions, and experiences, anything we can label. The simplicity of the language also supports the simplicity of the recognition, even though it's not always simple, but it has this simplicity in the language so that it's, where we can see that it doesn't matter what kind of data appear, even though they might have all kinds of different descriptions. Yeah, so we can see if there are any shares maybe or questions in regard to the short moments or realization or anything that we could further share on, or maybe anybody else would like to share how their short moments are going.
I think one of the key things, if I could put it this way, there are moments when there are overwhelming moments where, you are provoked to be angry, whatever extreme emotions that you feel. I think the key thing for me has always been to take a small pause. And there are two ways to looking at it, like it's just two perceptions. You either react to the situation or you respond. And as much as this sounds similar, there's a lot of difference between the two. I can react impulsively depending on how you're attacking me or saying the things that you want to say, or I can respond in a way that is more productive, much more calmer and more fruitful in bringing about restoring the peace that has been lost. And for me, I think the pause, the little pause that you need to take, or maybe a little deep breath, that's all is the moment that does the magic. And it's worked for me in most of the situations. And even today, when I have a teenage daughter at home.
Right.
Right.
That's a good circumstance. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yes, well, thank you for sharing. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And more than
Perfect.
anything else, I think I'm not sure where this thing comes from, but I feel like I don't think we should give anybody or any circumstances the power to control us. It's like you're losing your own power. And the moment I shift the gear, it's like the other person has the power over me. And he or she can just switch the remote and change the channel and allow me to feel the way they want me to feel. So it's like losing control, your power. So I can take my power back simply by not reacting, but by just responding or just saying silence, which I believe is truly golden.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Very powerful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Great. I'll see if there are any other questions or shares. Let's see. Yeah, we can.
One, talking about the power, the empowerment that I've realized is that, yeah, stepping out of the victimhood, and I know that it goes into what you guys have been teaching. I haven't read a lot of what you guys have been teaching, but yeah, as soon as you step away from being a victim, that is receiving that's the empowerment, it feels like. That's part of your teachings too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah, you give your power away as soon as you become a victim. You can't have power and be a victim at the same time. It's like it's just two opposites.
yes, yes, and rather there's another. Yeah, that's powerful. It's giving up being a victim of all our labels, thoughts, and emotions. But even if we feel a victim, that's where the power of open intelligence realization can come in. Is that even that is an appearance that actually poses no threat. And I'm making that distinction just because that's where the power of open intelligence like comes alive, that even being victimized has no power.
Right.
But it doesn't stay intellectual. It is initially intellectual, obviously, but it is then a more instinctive realization.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess you just realized that. And so that realization deepens naturally in seeing that all labels, that there's actually a dynamic energy, and that doesn't pose any threat or isn't anything other
Right.
than potency.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there's a label. Oh.
Yeah. 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 So we don't even have to have a certain set of labels in place, so to speak, that might be
Right.
even realized labels in the end. But obviously it needs to be spoken about, so there's words used and it could be taken in all ways, but ultimately
Right.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm kind of that's where I'm at, is like being able to discuss and understand, or I guess like be in that space of the open intelligence. It's like this, it's like a transition that's happening within me, or something that's like this transition of a way of being, I guess, maybe. And so sometimes it's a little disorienting, like, okay, wait, can I say that or can't I say that? You know, it's just like, and,
Yeah. Yes, that I understand that it feels sometimes like there's a certain way, and actually the short moments make it very natural.
right. If you just sit.
Just letting it just be as it is, and nothing has to really look a certain way or feel a certain way.
Right.
So it settles back into a very natural way or natural state, that just being, the ease of being, which really, like, you know, could feel in any way. So it has no particular look
Yeah.
or vantage or state even.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's the power. So when the term short moments of open intelligence is really like not trying to prolong anything, not even realization or anything. It's like, okay, taking a short moment of open intelligence is right here, and it's simply, you hear relaxed, but it doesn't mean you have to feel relaxed. But it's a moment of rest. It is a moment of allowing everything to be as it is, whatever we feel or see, and even thinking about realization.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you for sharing your experience there. Testing out short moments without any agenda, I wanted to say, can be a fun project. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. If there are any other shares or questions. Mhm.
So how did this open intelligence teaching originate? Where did it originate? How did it all begin? Just to get an insight about the entire thing.
Of course, yes. Johan, maybe did you want to share something now?
I can start, and then you can you can add. Well, ultimately, it's as ancient as the hills. You know,
Oh.
there really isn't. Especially if you take it a level deeper, like the teaching about open intelligence, our natural state, is you can find that in any tradition, or spiritual tradition or religion. And like today, when I read a text from, like, I grew up in Germany in a Christian society, and so today when I read Christian texts, I understand them very differently with that recognition of open intelligence than how I used to look at them prior to that exposure. And but ultimately, Rinpoche did just an analysis of all the different traditions and cultures and their practices and the realization and the results. And the clearest teachings are closer to where you live. So there are traditions in the Himalayan region that have these, what you sometimes also might hear as non-dual aspects, and then there are the different schools of whether that's Kashmiri Shaivism or Dzogchen in Tibet, or like Vedanta in India. But there is like the essence of this really is always coming back to that we as humans have, even though we are learning to operate in a way where we separate ourselves from the pervasive intelligence of nature, in reality there is a basic state, a fundamental essence of our being. Yes, exactly. You could call that consciousness or awareness, or whatever the word is. And then the specific practice of short moments of open intelligence is also something that that you can find in different words. The problem, that the challenge has often been that it's due to the cultural perspectives on it and other kinds of structures, it's been difficult to understand. I was speaking with somebody yesterday just about how difficult I found these like Eastern texts to read. And so to have it presented in such a simple way, like open intelligence and short moments of open intelligence repeated many times until this natural state of being is fully evident, it just makes it also simple because it doesn't have any of the, cultural or even the specific words that aren't used in our normal everyday language. So we all understand that we have intelligence, and then so to know that there is a basic intelligence within us, that whether we have an IQ of 180 or 80, there is still the fundamental intelligence. It's not like whether we're smart or not, but there is this fundamental intelligence by which we're aware. And so the origin really is the origin of humans really philosophizing about the true nature of our own mind. And humans are the only animal that we know of that is walking around the planet wondering, what are we doing here? Most other animals seem to be quite happy just being, but humans, we have
claim
this
to have dominion over all other creatures.
Somehow, yes, and there is this part of our brain that has been helpful in our evolution, but that also somehow has turned against us, you could say, because we make everything into these separate entities and live very isolated in our own heads most of the time. And so to just free all of that up and be fully open and in full relationship, you could say, with everything exactly as it is our most fundamental natural way of being. Just like for all other animals, it's just we have focused so much of our attention on the data. And I like what you shared before, Kati, about the victimhood, because like to me, even the greatest freedom I found from victimhood was the victim to my own mind. I think that was the greatest oppressor in my life, really was constantly being afraid of feeling depressed again or feeling anxious again or feeling unworthy again and not knowing where to find the worthiness or where to find the relief from anxiety or depression, and to really directly experience that none of these thoughts, emotions, or physical patterns have any power over the open, spacious awareness itself, is where that complete freedom really came about, which then also allowed me to be much more free in relationship with other humans. Because when these button pushers don't push any buttons in me anymore, then
it's liberating, right?
Exactly.
It's very liberating.
It doesn't really matter so much anymore what other people are trying. And ultimately you can also see that really everybody's trying their best. But due to our own buttons, what the best is just looks very different. And we think that some people might not, but anyway, so that was a bit of an excursion. But so we also have one of the videos in the, if you anyway will be in touch with Kati about the pictures, she can also maybe, Kati, you can send the video that we did about the tradition. It's on the YouTube channel where we share a little more about the background and Sichi Rinpoche's background and story. Yeah.
All right, that'd be good. Thank you so much, Austin. That was very informative. Yeah, truly.
Lovely.
I think it's more to do also with you basically aligning your inner world to your outside world. And as long as you don't deviate from the natural order that's in place, we're all fine. So we have Is Kathy there?
I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. I was just seeing if there was any other questions or shares. And you could put your email address. Would you put that into the chat for me? You can send
Sure,
it directly.
I'll
Great.
do that. Yes.
Thank you.
I would like to receive that video too, or the YouTube. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes. Can
Yeah.
you? Jochen is actually putting it onto the chat now. You can click that
Great.
link.
Yep. And you can also see the channel there. We upload some of these open meetings there as well, so that people who can't join us on a particular week can see the recap there.
Yeah. So yeah, we share about the also that Rinpoche, we say Siji Rinpoche because she also, even though her vision is to to make this the wisdom and our natural state accessible to all cultures, just in this time and place where we are at era. She also has been is a lineage successor of Wangde Rinpoche, of the Nyingma lineage, Dzogchen lineage, and that that is a part of the teachings, and it's also, yeah, but the four mainstays and the platform where we are recognizing open intelligence is basically without any ties to any tradition or cultural tradition, so that anybody who, no matter who we are and what background we have, can recognize open intelligence, just like, yeah, and that we don't have to change or believe anything. So that is in a way wonderful. She always said she wants to, her vision is to further the ancient wisdom teachings, furtherance of Dzogchen, and to recognize that in, regardless of our background. So that's her main vision, and she gives teachings sometimes that are related to the traditional Dzogchen teachings, but also then translates them in a way that anybody can understand, and that it's just simply to the essence. So yeah, and that's mainly what we are focusing on here, just open intelligence and our realization of that. Yeah, so
it's, like the word enlightenment, so it's more like what you would say realization. Is that what you're?
yes, the word enlightenment, realization of open intelligence, and it's already present, so it's basically making it more obvious. And yeah, that's what the ultimate meaning of enlightenment is. It's complete, you could also say, outshining of all data without them going anywhere, other than being the potency of your own being, the energy.
Like what the book says, the sun outshines the moon and the stars.
Right. That's a beautiful metaphor. Yeah. Yeah. Because the sun and the stars, the planets, they don't go anywhere, but they're not visible in daytime. Yeah. That's one of my favorite also.
Yeah, I find these, the traditional terms, again, it's powerful to see them through the light of our own recognition, and really, rather than try and understand it somewhere out there, so to speak, to look at our own direct experience and to see awakening to the recognition of our true nature, like that awakening, like that first moment of recognition of open intelligence. And wow, how could I walk around so long and not notice this about myself? And then the liberation, the freedom of being increasingly free, even though nothing changes. You know, I still am hungry. I still prefer coffee over tea, and you know, I like this thing and not the other thing. None of this needs to change, but there is increasing freedom, and that's the liberation aspect. You know, and then as Kati just mentioned, the outshining, there you have the light and like the light of enlightenment, right? The where data are less and less even noticed. So it's not even like being free from something that's separate, you know, like I am free from all the data, but there is just like a field of experience that doesn't even have, and that's where words kind of get a bit like empty to describe. But you know, ultimately we have so many of these like the essence of this experience isn't foreign to us. Like, you know, if we have had periods where we're completely immersed in something and we're not really thinking about being the self that needs to find enlightenment somewhere, we're just like all other animals, free and, you know, roaming around. So we're in this state of ease and like a natural alignment, you could say, with this fundamental intelligence. But then there are many times when we're not. And it seems that especially these days, we have built a society and a structure and a world around us that is based on feeling this set, you know, like a separate being, and we have created a lot of like structures in the world, in our own lives, that make it just much more difficult, seemingly.
Yeah.
But then that's why the short moments are so powerful, because you know, you could be in the middle of something that feels really stressful, and then activate like a reset button, a short moment of open intelligence, and see, wow, I can be completely free. You know, I have a full inbox, nothing's working, all the servers are down, and I can either be completely stressed out, or I can just have a moment of complete ease and then continue on working. So I don't need to even stop working. It's just that the tension in our bodies and minds can just relax completely. And in that, we see this complete freedom. We're liberated from the self-created prison of feeling victim to our own experience of ourselves and the world.
Right.
I was wondering too, like you talk a little bit about transmissions, like being like the face to face, or I don't know, I think it doesn't have to be face to face, but helping people with that realization. Does that happen frequently, or I don't know if I'm making that question clear or not? Like, is that?
Yes. So the transmissions you're referring to, when did you read about that as in a teaching, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
even,
mm,
you know, it's like the experience, it's not an experience, the realization of the open intelligence, is that are you able, or is that like, is that I don't know, I want to say state, is that way of being transmissible? Like, is that a way that can someone transmit that, like clear the clouds of
yeah.
out-
Well, what happens? Yeah, I understand your sharing question there. Sometimes instead of transmission, it could also be called evocation, and that is actually what is really happening. It is because usually nothing is given from someone to someone, because yeah, but what does happen, and through text or simply also by talking with each other here and hearing other people's experiences, it evoked the realization, and yeah, we can say experience of open intelligence, but it's realization. Our natural way of our natural state is evoked, becomes more obvious. And that definitely is supported by a transmission teaching or in a vocation, where there's open intelligence is spoken about in a way that evokes that in one own experience. So that's what Sitchi Rinpoche gives evocations, or writes texts that evoke open intelligence, and we can just see it. It just, when somebody's open, then then it's open. That's the power of when we also hear maybe traditionally mind-to-mind transmissions. That's what is actually meant also. There's a lot that can go on just simply by one's own openness.
Sure.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's beautiful. And because we all naturally already open intelligence, and this natural state is already present, just gone out unnoticed by looking at the labels. That's why that choice, that short moment, that choice we can take in every moment is very powerful, actually, to see it in that way. Okay, every moment we have a choice. Either it's recognizing open intelligence or taking a short moment, or it's being involved in all the labels and just seeing that aspect of reality. And that's the training. It's like training a muscle almost. It's just making it in a simple way, but then there's much more that comes about by gaining confidence. So just seeing that in my own experience, how that came about, just over time. And really time doesn't matter. It's just simply short moments, and the confidence becomes more obvious. And that it's already so. Yes, great. Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. Yeah, Michelle, did you want to share?
Yeah,
I
want to share something about that, because it just felt so apparent when you asked that question about how, in my experience, like the four mainstays and the choice to go, like to sort of pick up the four mainstay, to pick up whichever one, is like then the evocation of open intelligence through that simple choice of like, okay, whether it's like a text, sometimes like reading it or writing it or listening. And we have, I live in the UK, actually. I'm American, you can tell, but I live in the UK. And so we have also weekly meetings, with the community. There's a community that's quite large in Bristol. And we always comment, every week. And there's all these clarity calls, through also other calls throughout the week like that. And we're always commenting about how just being together and hearing other practitioners sharing about the recognition of open intelligence in their life, and like in the different unique circumstances that arise, is very powerful. Just evocation, just to be with others who are relying on open intelligence and sharing from that recognition. So in that way, I think you've probably spoken about the four mainstays, Kati and Jochen specifically, but yeah, I feel very much that all four of them are very powerful, and yeah, just so precious, the way that design. I loved how you explained it also, Kati, of the teaching, and the four mainstays being this sort of vehicle for accessing this wisdom. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Well, yes, the formation, maybe we've not spoken this time, but it's good. Well, we've spoken indirectly, because everything, as we call formations, just like it's like an algorithm. It's a vehicle, so to speak, an environment where open intelligence is evoked and obviously the text, the media is one mainstay. The short moments itself is another mainstay. Then a trainer, someone who has realized or gained confidence in open intelligence, can share their experience, is another one. And then the community people who can share their experience. And this combination of ways of evoking open intelligence creates an algorithm that always leads to the same result, basically, in saying, well, open intelligence is confirmed by either of these ways and becomes more obvious as a result. And that is that's the platform, basically, that we share the teachings within, and also have the opportunity to in customized way realize open intelligence. Yeah, so that's perfect. Yes, thank you, Michelle. And good. Okay, maybe we pause here for today, and we'll meet again next week on Tuesday. If you have any topics you'd like to explore, then let us know, and we'll prepare that for next Tuesday.
Sure. Yeah.
Good to see you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Nice
much.
to be with you all.
Have a nice rest of your day. At night,
Yeah.
wherever you are.
Good
Bye
night.
bye.
See you all.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.